Hello. Thank you for joining us for this U.S. Spiritist Movement in Action episode, a special program, part of the Spiritism Talk series promoted by the United States Spiritist Federation every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And today we're going to be talking about the blessings and the challenges of Spiritist centers in this United States of America. So, what lessons arise from building Spiritist communities in this cultural landscape? Let's explore the struggles, growth opportunities, and the blessings of Spiritist centers in the United States, reminding us that every challenge can become a step toward greater fraternity and service. And for my first special guest here today, I want to call Rosana Santos, who is the current president of Bezerra de Menezes in Miami. Rosana, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Yuri. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure being here with you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's going to be great. And to pair with Rosana, we also have my other dear friend, Eduardo Haddad, from the Kardec Spiritist Group of Austin. Eduardo, good morning. How are you doing?
Very good morning to you, Yuri and Rosana. Very good to be here. It's a pleasure to be here with you both, and good morning, everyone who is watching us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Thanks for everybody who's now joining us as well to watch this special episode. So let's dive in. And I have a few topics that I guess we can talk about regarding this, the blessing and the challenges of Spiritist centers in the United States. And I want to start with Rosana. So, Rosana, let me ask you, from your perspective, being that you're the president of a Spiritist center in Miami and is a center that provides services in three languages, what are the greatest blessings of leading a Spiritist center in the United States today?
Yuri, there are a lot of blessings, but I would start saying that's to serve. As we say, the Spiritist Center is a hospital, is a temple, a school, and also a home for all of us. So it is a great opportunity to share the Spiritism doctrine, like talking about its consoling, lining teachings, and at the same time, welcoming everybody who arrives with diverse needs. As you know, people arrive with their own needs, and we can comfort them. We can receive them with love and guide in some directions that they need sometimes. So it always allows us to learn from each other, learn from everybody, from the other person that is in a process, refine our own shortcomings for sure, being able to identify our weaknesses in this process as well. Work on my vanity, on my pride, like work on myself at the same time, trying to help and serve everybody that is welcome to our center. We have a lot of fraternal work, so we also do this welcoming through those activities. And for me, it's very, very important always to open to a path for the others that are coming as well. So being
Amazing.
a good model to the others as well.
Amazing. And you're touching, I think, on a few of the, on like the multifaceted aspect of Spiritist centers or in the world, but specifically in the United States, of welcoming perhaps people who are coming to the country, helping them, and like you said, serving, working on ourselves while serving others. And I love that. What about you, my friend Eduardo? How what are the greatest blessings you who have founded Spiritist centers in California, in Texas, who has been part of different boards from different Spiritist center. Eduardo, who also, for those who don't know, is the treasurer of the United States Spiritist Federation. So definitely have been in leading places or leading seats for the Spiritist community. So in your perspective, what is or the greatest blessing, or what are the greatest blessings of leading Spiritist centers in the United States?
Yeah, absolutely. And Rosana, said it very well. I think when we when again, I'm going to wear my hat of organizing a spirit center. So whenever we get together as a group to form a new center, right? I think we the first image that comes to mind, and that has been my experience, is we want to create a place for people to come and learn, and share the Spiritist philosophy in the U.S. But what turns out happening in reality, and I think Rosana mentioned this really well, it becomes a second home for a lot of people. It happened to me when I came to this country 25 years ago. My first community was the center, right? We had a small child, we had no friends, we knew nobody. And all of a sudden, we have a group of people that have truly become lifelong friends. I mean, up to this day, I mean, the people I met in California when I first came. So we noticed that, the center does become much more than what we intended to be. It becomes a school, as was said, it becomes a hospital, it becomes a workshop where, people can take on responsibilities and learn. I truly believe that every time we set up a center, and I think that's true for any religious or philosophical organization that is devoted to doing good, I do think we create a little point of light in the universe. So I think it's a blessing, right? It becomes a second home for a lot of us.
I agree.
Amazing. Yeah. That's great. And when you said the point of light, that's definitely true, Eduardo. We know that with, for when we do the gospel at home, it becomes like this point of light. And now imagine a lot of these minds elevated, thinking about Christ, talking about Christ, about all the teachings. Is definitely, I'd say, it becomes a beacon of light. I want to go a little, even further and say it becomes a beacon of light. And I love that you also brought up the aspect of the community that helps foster and bring and sort of like that embracing aspect, and is one of, it is a big blessing of Spiritist Centers. Now we have a lot of blessings, there's a lot of good things we know, but I wanted to also be very frank and very honest and very transparent that there are a lot of challenges, and leading Spiritist Centers, or that Spiritist Centers in this country face, especially when compare with other countries where Spiritism is more, let's say, culturally established, such as Brazil. So let me ask you, Rosana, what do you think are some of these challenges, or what are the main challenges perhaps that Bezerra de Menezes or other centers that you know of face in this land?
Yeah. Well, Yuri, throughout these 40 years of existence of the center, there were a lot of challenges. I know that also it's a great responsibility to represent, to be leading and helping the center in the administrative portion. It brings a profound learning, but especially here in South Florida, we have a turnover of people that is very high. I don't know if in the other regions are like that, but people come for a period of time and they go to the center, like they have a community that speaks the language, the Portuguese language. Most of the people are Brazilian. As you mentioned, we speak three languages in the center, but Spanish was the beginning of the work. We continue doing Spanish classes, so and everything, all activities. We also have Portuguese and Spanish, few in English. We want to make that more activities and bring more in English. And this is one of the challenges for us, because the language is a barrier here in Florida, especially. Most speaks Spanish. So when Benjamin and Aide Rodriguez started the activities, they have everything in Spanish. The Brazilians arrived, and then we try to implement new things, and more Brazilians were arriving. So we have a lot of a big challenge in the language. The dream of the founders were that we could reach the Americans. So they are invited, and I believe that the path for them is through our youngest groups, like the evangelization with the teenagers, for example. They speak English. That activity is completely in English for them. And I think we can, let's say, plant the seed in them to have more activities and being able to reach the Americans, the English speaking community. So for us, it's one of the biggest challenges to find people that want to facilitate courses in English. This is one of them that I
Yeah.
can.
So if I'm hearing right, like the turnover of people that, because it is like South Florida, specifically South Florida is a place where a lot of people go spend, X amount of time, sometimes just a couple of months, sometimes just a couple of years, and then they, for one reason or another, they move somewhere else or they go back. So the turnover perhaps of workers, turnover of people who actually attend the Spiritist Center, as well as the language, helping establish Spiritism in the United States, as well as spreading Spiritism in this language that we're speaking right now, English. That's another big challenge for if I'm hearing you correctly, right, Rosana?
That is correct, because the the center depends on the people that are there, right? So we have volunteers, leadership, donations, and most of them are the people that are that knows Spiritism from Brazil, from our country. So they join knowing a little bit more of the doctrine, and it's easier for them to to be in this group of friends and help each other and work together. And we welcome the Americans, the husbands. Sometimes it's the husband that is American and comes, and when they get to know what it is, a spiritism, they stay. But it takes longer for us to introduce the doctrine, the spiritism, to them. Once we do, they stay, and then they join, they invite other people, but it's a slow process, as we see here in South Florida.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, a lot to think about there. And Eduardo, what about you? What are some of the main challenges in your view that Spiritist centers face in the United States?
Yeah. Well, thank you, and thank you, Rosana. So building upon the many key points that Rosana brought up, which I fully share. I think the language barrier is a real one. I think the cultural aspect is a real one. I think, and by the way, as you were mentioning names, some really great memories came back to me, Rosana. Mrs. Aide, and the people that we met at Bezerra and in South Florida in general. Um, so a few things, right, that we on the cultural aspect. I think, as you said, the Spiritist philosophy for us Brazilians is very familiar, right? So it's easier for us to integrate, but that makes it a challenge for non-Brazilians, right? So I've noticed that even when we set to do work in English in many of our centers, before the work, everyone is speaking in Portuguese. So if you have, for example, non-Brazilians or Americans coming to the center, they feel a little left out because there's this group of people speaking another language, and then we switch to English. So I mean, a lot of small and bigger things that make it a little harder for non-Brazilians to integrate. So I think we have challenge there. I do agree fully with your point around investing in the younger generations, that hopefully we will be able to do a better job than we've done. But I also see other challenges, right? So I cannot help myself, being the treasurer and having dealt with many centers as part of the Florida Federation and the U.S. Federation. I think the administrative aspects and the financial aspects of managing a center are true challenges, right? We think you mentioned that in passing, Rosana, and it's a
Yeah.
reality. Many centers are not prepared. Many leaders are, they do this out of the goodness of their heart. Yeah, I think we are answering a calling, but then when we have to establish an organization in a foreign land and to manage the financial resources to become financially sustainable, to manage human resources, because at the end of the day, it becomes an organization and you have to manage every aspect of it. I think those are real challenges. We see that every day, And personally, it's something that I find extremely important, because I think the centers cannot withstand. They cannot live longer if they don't have a strong administrative and financial foundation. So I think that's
I
something
agree.
that's on.
That's a great point you brought up, Eduardo, as well, because as you know, like you said, it becomes an organization. You have human material there that sometimes you need to manage, like I said, the human resources, because we know the spirituality. We work with them, with the other side as well as incarnated spirits now, to build those centers, to have them continue with their activities and serve the community as a whole. And I think that is such an interesting point, because yeah, you have to manage personnel, like you said, and the financial aspect too. And I think that's a very key point, because as you're managing financial aspect, you're also managing the cultural impact sometimes that somebody's coming, let's say somebody from the American culture, maybe they're coming to be part of the center, in the board or as a worker. So you have to manage that, as well as like the financial piece, because we know costs, they only grow, and and people need help with that. And that leads me to also mention, for those who are watching us, those who have Spiritist centers or want to start Spiritist centers, or just they attend Spiritist centers. Just for you to know as well, we have the United States Spiritist Federation has a lot of resources at your disposal. So there's workshops that we do, financial workshops sometimes with Eduardo. We've done that as well in the past to help centers in terms of the financial piece. We have a lot of different resources and materials available at our website, and all provided by United States Spiritist Federation. So the link is down there, the website for those who are watching, spiritist.us. So I just wanted to leave that there, because you're not alone. You're not alone. Seek help. There's help available as well for, like I said, people who are struggling with their centers or wanting to start new centers and want to get a good start. Go to the website, get in touch with the United States Spiritist Federation, become a member, all of that. So that I just wanted to leave that as well. And I also wanted to mention, because you guys talked about one of the challenges being the language. Thankfully, with each passing year, we're having more and more of the books translated into the English language, which is amazing. And it's something that more and more we're having that. And this is also something that I wanted to let people know, invite them to go to the websites, to the USSF bookstore website. Also, it's going to be down here, the link, spiritistbooks.us. It's a little different. So spiritistbooks.us. And find the resources there, because sometimes there's going to be people who only speak English. They become interested in Spiritism, and we need to provide them books to read. We need to provide them resources and materials. So definitely going to our bookstore is something that can help, and help the centers as well, so we can disseminate Spiritism in this country in the English language as well, because it is one of the challenges. And I guess, since we're on this topic of challenges and the cultural aspect, let me ask Eduardo first now. I want to know, Eduardo, in your experience with all the centers you've been a part of and still are a part of, and also United States Spiritist Federation, how receptive do you think the American public is to the Spiritist teachings, and what, just out of curiosity, what is a misconception that you often encounter, Eduardo, in when the American public becomes, familiar with Spiritism and they get to know Spiritism?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and it's a fascinating aspect of and challenge of what we're trying to do. It's truly a paradox. I don't know if everyone knows this, and this is really well documented. Two agencies. One is the Gallup, the other one is the Pew Research Center. They have run research, right, surveys to understand what percentage of the American people believes in reincarnation. And you'll be surprised, between 25 and 33% of the American people believe in reincarnation. So it's not that reincarnation is a completely foreign topic to the American people. Absolutely not. A lot of people, are very familiar with the concepts. The issue is, as you mentioned, is the misconception. It's how we package spiritism and how we communicate. I mean, that is, I think, where we have the biggest opportunity. A lot of people don't really understand what spiritism is. I mean, they try to, is this Hinduism? Is this magic? Is it sorcery? Is it fortune telling? I mean, so it's for us is how do we make it simple so that people can understand? And I'm very hopeful, and I know we're gonna get there. I've seen recent examples. I think it was Daniel who is in the background helping us technically here in this live, who brought up that recently there is a YouTuber that's becoming very prominent. That he discovered the Spirits book in English. And to your point, Yuri, I think we have over 100 titles in English now. So I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we've been doing this work of bringing Spiritism to the English language, translating many titles in English, and one of them, the Spirits book, the most foundational, arrived at this person's desk, and they have now become really fascinated by the book as they should, and they are helping kind of spread the word. So I know there's a way for us to do this. I think we'll get there.
Absolutely, and it's amazing too, right, Eduardo? How people who were not familiar, they all of a sudden they get in contact with that information. It resonates with them as it resonated with all of us here, and it's like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. And now he's an advocate for spiritism, even though he doesn't necessarily identifies himself as a spiritist, but like he's a big advocate for that. So yes, the misconception of how the soul reincarnates, because if we think, like you said, 25 to 33%, which is a quarter to a third of the whole population of the United States believes in that.
Yeah.
Spiritism explains how that happens, so like the mechanisms behind that. And I think that's a very beautiful, consoling aspect of spiritism in general. What about you, Rosana? What do you think? What are some of the misconceptions, and how receptive do you have you seen like the American public to Spiritist teachings in general?
Yes, I agree with Eduardo and yourself on what you mentioned. I would add something like the not understanding the Christian root at the moral teachings as the main part. They don't link Jesus to spiritism. When we say spirits, automatically the misconception is that like occult magic, superstition, fortune teller, as Eduardo mentioned. So they relate mediums to monetary gain, not linking to the religious part and the Jesus teachings, the moral concept. When we speak about reincarnation and having that as a blessing from God that we all have. So for us, when we explain this part and we say, yes, we are Christians, we speak about Jesus here, our gospels are Jesus gospel, they are very like surprised. Wow, I didn't know that. So this is one of the misconceptions that I think if we work on it, we can bring people together in this, because the Americans, they are very related to Christ. So this for me is one of the biggest challenges, making them understanding that we are also Christians.
It's amazing, yeah. It's interesting how you two brought these points, because that's why we have these conversations. It's so important for people out there who are listening to us to understand these misconceptions and how we can help it too. Understanding how they may see that spiritualism, or they may think is something like a lot of superstitious aspects of it, but definitely that's the promised consoler, promised by Christ. So we're very much we have our Christian roots that sometimes they may not seem as obvious when the American population first come in contact with Spiritism. And I mean, as we know, like we talked about the challenges too, another question, I guess, that I had, or another point for us to talk about, is this idea that Spiritist centers, we know, face many challenges, and I wanted to ask. Let's start with Eduardo again. Eduardo, can you tell me about a an example of a challenge that the center that you are right now, or some other center that you have been a part of, has faced that ultimately became a big opportunity for growth? Because we know that with every challenge comes growth. So, can you share an example of that? Can you think of something?
Oh, yeah, I think any of us who have been involved in any aspect of the Spiritist movement, or working in the Spirit Center, or managing a Spirit Center, we probably have lots of stories to tell about challenges. I think there's a saying which I like, which is never let a crisis go to waste. And I think we had many crises over the years, and many of them have turned out to be opportunities. So I'll mention a couple, because they are the ones that created the opportunity for me to be involved in founding new centers, right? So we had this small group of people in California, 25 years ago, when we arrived, and it was a very small group that didn't have ambitions of growing. And it turns out our president at the time had to move back to Brazil. The group dissolved, and all of a sudden we didn't have a place to go. We started going to a person's house to study over the weekend, and magically every weekend more and more people would show up, to a point where we had so many people in the house that we said we better look for a place. And that became the No Solar Spirit Society, which is a center today in California. And another one happened in Houston, where when we moved to Houston uh, from Dallas, we moved a lot. So we were in California, we went to Florida, then we went to Dallas, then we moved to Houston. And when we moved to Houston, we joined the center, and because we have 4 kids, so we always had kids with us. We always really appreciated the youth education aspect of it. So we brought our kids to the center, and we met many other parents as well. And there were so many parents that wanted to bring their kids there, and the center was very small, and they really couldn't handle the volume. So a group of parents decided to create another center to operate on a Sunday, and that gave birth to the Sunrise Spirit Center in Houston, which operates to this day. So that little crisis that we had, or those two crises, kind of became opportunities for centers to grow. And I see this every time. I mean, sometimes we see those little frictions as negative, but so many times they create opportunities for new centers to be born.
Absolutely. It's like there's always opportunity for growth, always opportunity for something else to be done. And it's thank you for sharing those two examples, Eduardo. That's great of two, like you say, crisis that you guys did not let go to waste, which is good. And I'm glad that now we have two fruitful spiritist centers there that are helping the community, are helping so many people, and allowing people to serve as well. That's amazing. What about you, Rosanna? What are some of the challenge, or can you think of a specific challenge that perhaps Bezerra has faced that became eventually something beautiful, something renewed?
I think you're on mute, Rosanna.
Am I?
Now we can hear you.
Not anymore.
Yes, we do have some challenges to mention, but there is one very interesting to share, which was during COVID lockdowns. I believe all of us faced that. I don't
Yes.
know, right? We lost a lot of physical attendance. Like we had to close the center, and that forced us to get to implement the online activities, classes via Zoom. It was a difficult period for donations, but we had the help from the government and everything. So it was a very good increase on our receivings in this period, which allowed us to have the center closed for a while, and then we opened new activities. We brought a lot of more people that we had before, The classes became part of tripled the attendance on the studies online, and many workers, they never came back when the center was open, but the new ones are the ones that are up to today, like helping and being with these new groups, so new opportunities for all. What we had as well, we had change on the leadership, like different group of people, workers, were coming on board trying to help, so that united us more than anything. Today we keep the online courses, and it is parallel, like we never stop doing it. I think that is the future as well, because we have people from other countries as well attending the classes, so it is something that we didn't have before COVID, and that allowed us to grow in this new area, and we are very happy with that. The diversity of people, the youngest, so that is something I wanted to bring.
No, thank you for saying that. Yeah, and absolutely. It's a great point as far as the pandemic that affected everybody, affected Spiritist Centers, but it also nudged or even like pushed centers to adapt. Okay, we need to continue to meet. We want to continue to disseminate spiritism. How can we do that? Through the internet. I mean, the blessing of the internet. That's how we're here right now. That's how we're we're in different places, and somebody listening to us may be in the middle of, I don't know, of Nebraska, watching us right now, talking about this, and getting inspired and thinking about these things. So of course, with every challenge comes up an opportunity for growth, and I think the pandemic, like you said, Rosana, so well, provided a very good opportunity for that. Did you see that too, Eduardo? As far as like in the centers that you mentioned, or in Texas, now that you know you're actively part of the center there. So did you see also like the pandemic sort of being this challenge that became an opportunity for more, let's say, virtual growth?
100%, right? I think I vividly remember, and as Rosanna was mentioning the pandemic, I remember that at that time we were completing 3 years of the Sunrise, center in Houston. It was a 100% in-person center. There was zero
Wow.
online, and we had a lot of people, and we would have more than 100 people on a weekend in our center, which by American standards is a lot. I know not by Florida standards, because you have a lot of people in your center. Outside of Florida, we have small centers, and having 100 people was a lot, and it was a challenge. I mean, you brought back so many memories. Now we had to very quickly switch to an online model that we didn't have, and it was a great challenge. I think we came together as a group, and thankfully, there is technology, right, to help us, and
Yeah.
we're able to switch, and that has changed the way we operate for good. I mean, I think you're right. I think that created a whole different aspect for us to explore. I think what Rosanna said was really fascinating. There was, I think, a change in even demographics. I think a lot of people who used to come to the center went somewhere else, but new people came. So, I mean,
Mm.
we're still trying to understand, but I did notice that, Rosanna. I think that was a really great point.
Yeah, a lot of opportunity, and this change was for good. Sometimes at the moment we don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, but it always have a way to overcome everything. So it is opportunity. When we pass and we look back, we see the great opportunities that these situations bring to us.
Absolutely. We're always being helped as we're also helping ourselves and others. So we always have to keep that in mind. Like we're never alone. Like I said before, like in all by all meaning of the word. So, and I mean that's amazing, and I think too that as we're thinking about these challenges, as we're thinking about the blessings and all of that, I wonder, and talking about especially like specifically people that came to the centers who are now workers, I wanted to ask you, let me start with Rosana now. How do you think, or how do Spiritist centers in the United States prepare and support new workers and these, future leaders in Spiritism to continue the work?
Yeah, very, very interesting question. And I've been thinking about it. And as our Spiritism says that Spiritists, it is in the chapter 6 that the counseling Christ to the Spiritist teachings says the coming of the Spirit of truth. And he says, Spiritists, love one another. And first, this is the first teaching, and then educate yourselves. This is the second. So, and says all truth are found in Christianity. So I believe that preparing ourselves, getting to know more about our doctrine, like studying, preparing new workers through study groups of the Spiritist codification first, like the base of our doctrine. The Gospels, very important, teaching how about the prayer, talking about praying, the supervised practice and the mediumship, the youth education. That is these areas I believe that are very important, that we can build this foundation and in our centers. Bezerra has a lot of social and fraternal work. That is the
Yes.
entrance point for a lot of people in our center. They come to the center through these activities, and then they stay because they practice at the beginning. They start practicing, then getting into the study groups and getting to know a little bit more about the doctrine. So in the future, they can be the ones, like preparing ourselves to be the ones continuing the work, because we are temporarily in these positions, and it's something that we need to think about, preparing others to continue the work.
Perfect. Yeah. And I know Bezerra has a lot of, charitable work, and I can understand how that can be something that people first attend and then they start going to these charitable events or actions, helping the homeless, the mothers out there, and all of that. So it's amazing how that can draw them in to be like, okay, like I want to know more about these teachings that you guys talk about, and that can become a door, right?
That's the example, bringing the after the example they see, and they say, but what do you guys do? Is that
Yeah.
spiritism? Yes, it is. We are preparing like the food for the homeless, and or the kids for the welcoming, the mothers that are welcoming babies in difficult situations. So first they see the work, and then they want to get a little bit more about what you guys do. And those are the workers that are here with us today in the
Yeah.
center.
That's amazing. Yeah. And how about you, Eduardo? What do you think? How can the Spiritist centers in the U.S. prepare and support these new workers and future perhaps leaders to
Yeah,
continue the work?
yeah. This is such a critical aspect. Something that we've any of us who have again worked in spiritism have dealt with, struggled with in some cases. I think when I think about that, a few things come to mind. One, and I always draw a parallel between what we have to do in the U.S. versus places like Brazil, where it's a different situation, and the big differences are, one is the pace, and I will explain why the pace. As Rosana said, we have a lot of turnover in the U.S., so it's hard to get people in positions for a long time. Different from again Brazil, where people are less mobile. They stay in the center for a
Yeah.
long time. You can train someone, and they can help you in that capacity for a long time. Here is we've been learning how to fast track some of those processes. you still need to make sure that people learn, as you said, Rosana, that that there is a strong foundation in the Spiritist philosophy and every aspect of it, so that we don't compromise quality, right, of what we do. But at the same time, you need to do it more efficiently, right? So how do you bring up people up to speed faster so that they can become workers, I think faster compared to the time it would take in Brazil, for example, for someone to become a worker. So I think we've been learning. What I see that is very encouraging in the US is I see a lot more best practice sharing. As I think you mentioned, you have organizations like the Federation that have prepared a lot of materials that can be quickly leveraged. Um, uh, when I had to set up a center, for example, in Texas, I went to talk to the other centers. Say, hey, how did you do, right? So
Yeah.
how do you organize a nonprofit organization, for example? And it saved me so much time. So I think this in every aspect of it. If you need to train people in fraternal assistance, if you need to get a mediumship um, group started, if you need to get a study group started on any of aspect of the
The youth department as well. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So today, I think I see more of centers reaching out to other centers, to the local federations, or even the U.S. Federation for assistance. I mean, that I think can be a big help. That can save you time, learning, mistakes, and allows you to manage the turnover issue that we have.
Excellent. Yeah, I love that you brought this idea of the integration. So I feel like this is how some we can summarize it as centers becoming more integrated, like especially in the United States, everybody sort of coming together, talking to one another, using and utilizing the resources that are available out there. And the PACE one is a very, very interesting one, and I'm pretty sure what you said, Eduardo, is going to resonate with a lot of people who are watching this, who are ahead of centers in terms of leadership or starting new centers. This idea of how you prepare the workers so they can continue and carry on with what's necessary for the center, as you mentioned as well. And here we have the website again of the United States Spiritist Federation. So many resources out there that we always encourage people to go and try and find resources to help them there. Now, I have another topic, I guess, or another question for you too. Let me go with Eduardo now. What role, Eduardo, do you think Spiritist centers play in providing, support? We can think emotional, we can think spiritual, in a society that, and I saying society in general, as far as like the United States, that often prioritizes this individualistic tendencies and material success and consumerism, as United States is so famous for. So how do you think the Spiritist centers can provide this support, and what role do they play?
Yeah, as you as you said it so well, right? This is spirit centers can become a beacon of light, and they do become. I think there's so many consoling aspects of spiritism that can be brought to society through the center. Um, and the beauty of the center is it can meet so many different needs. So, as I mentioned before, it almost naturally becomes a second community for people. So that in itself is a very consoling aspect. It's been for me, right? As I said, the spirit centers have become my second homes, my second families. Whether I was in California, Florida, Texas, I have so many friends today because of spiritism, right? Like you, and so many others who probably are going to be listening to this or watching us. Those are great friends. But we also do that in so many other ways. I think, as Rosana mentioned, the volunteering aspects of it. I mean, so many people come to the center looking for an opportunity to volunteer, and there's so much good work to be done locally, nationally, and I've seen that done beautifully by many centers. They also come looking for help, and many centers offer fraternal assistance, right? Whether it's formal, informal, but it's people need to talk to someone. Sometimes, again, they are new to this country, they are unsure,
Yeah.
sure about what to do, and they feel more confident that they can talk to someone who at least shares similar beliefs to what they have. Um, and I do think that honestly I do think we are this need of of people kind of switching their kind of getting, I'm going to say, jaded and tired of materialism and frustrated with how the world is, and they start looking for, there has to be something else there. I think that's when they find spiritism, they find the centers, and it's a great work that we are doing to prepare for those people to come. Lastly, just a last comment is the other aspect is that you can, Spiritism meets so many needs. If someone is in need of moral support, they will find it. But if they also are in need of intellectual support, if they are in need of, I need to learn more, I need to understand more, Spiritism
Yes.
has this whole aspect of philosophy, right, and science that allows people to meet their intellectual curiosity about where do I come from, where am I going to, right? And Spiritism does that. And the proof of that is just the variety of backgrounds that you find in Spiritism, right? From people who have never stepped foot in a school, have no formal training, to people who work in every other walk of life, to doctors, right, PhDs, etc. So there's really no single aspect that defines the Spiritist population. It's really, you can meet many needs in one place.
Great, amazing, and so many needs being met in one place, and especially as we're talking, the materialistic aspect of consumerism and all of that. When I think, Eduardo, what you said made me think of when people say like there's this emptiness that they try to fill, or this void they try to fill with material things, and it does not get filled. And I think that's a lot of the things that people say when they find spiritism, that spiritism fills that void that they've been trying to fill with material things. What about you, Rosana? What do you think are some of the ways, or what's the role of Spiritist Centers in providing support in all its facets?
Wow, I make Eduardo my words. I agree with him in all aspects that he mentioned. Just reinforcing the fraternal reception, I believe that is key for any center to be able to welcome the people with the passion and have the fraternal dialogue, listen to their concerns. In this moment, it is very important for them and for us as well. So when we can receive them, welcome them, guide them in the process of suffering, or offer them possibilities for the social work, those are moments that I understand our centers are doing their work, their good work,
Yes.
and through the gospel, because the materialism and everything that was mentioned, like when we transform ourselves through the gospel. So I always say in our center that it is one of the most important activities in our house, the gospels, because it's through those teachings that sometimes we're gonna wake up someone in the audience, listen to something that makes a difference, and do the change, because it's individual change, like it's our responsibility, each of us. So being able to give them these teachings through the gospel, I believe that, because we say outside charity there is no salvation. And
Yeah.
when they understand what that means, that is when the changes starts.
Amazing. That is, yeah, that's very much the role of Spiritist Centers, and that's, I agree with what both of you said. And as far as, I mean, we're reaching the end of our talk here today, and I guess in short sentences, because of the time that we have, I want to ask Rosana first. What is your vision, I guess, or looking ahead? What is your vision of of the for the future of Spiritist centers in the United States, and how can the Spiritist community contribute to that vision?
Yuri, I think that we uniting the centers, uniting the federations, like strengthening the Spiritist movement is a key role, in my opinion. Getting to know each other more, exchanging practices, good practices, mistakes, and getting closer. I think that is something I see a very good view in the future for the Spiritism. I think that it's not even if it's slow, if it is with a good foundation, this is gonna stay longer and longer. So union with all the centers and the federations, that for me is a very good way of doing it.
Nice. Okay, so it's a unity, this communion, this mutual support. I love it. What about you, Eduardo? In a couple of sentences, what do you think? What is your vision for the future of Spiritism or Spiritist centers, and also how can Spiritist community contribute to that work?
Yeah, I do believe we are preparing for a wave, right, that is coming. I think we sometimes, especially if we are managing a center, occasionally you may get discouraged by attendance, for example. But I think we should look past that. I think the work we are doing is foundational. We tend to make it personal, but we know this work is not ours. This work is of the Christ, and the best we can do is get out of the way and help, in any way possible, so that we prepare the soil. I think it's a big work of preparation. I think focusing on the youth education, as Rosana said, I think that is key, because I think the big wave belongs, potentially for the future generation. So in closing, I also would continue to highlight this integration, learning from each other, leveraging the resources that many organizations are doing.
Thanks, Eduardo. That summarizes it very well. And I mean, a lot of food for thought, a lot of wisdom, and a lot of things for us to reflect. Us from the Spiritist community, and also everybody who's watching us, who attends a Spiritist center, wants to start a Spiritist center, or is currently in a leadership role in the Spiritist center or federation. I think these are very valuable thoughts that you two shared today. So I wanted to thank you too. And before we close for the day, can I ask Eduardo, can you just do a prayer for us to close our work here today?
Of course, of course. I want to, invite all of us here and anyone who's listening to take a moment, elevating our thoughts to the higher realms, to our Master Jesus Christ. And it is with our hearts filled with gratitude that we ask permission to bring this very, incredible meeting to a close. We feel incredibly blessed to be able to work together in the Spiritist movement, to strengthen the bonds of our brothers and sisters with our brothers and sisters in this foreign land, and to be working on the gospel of Jesus Christ. May we all be blessed and protected today in this blessed week that begins. So be it.
And so be it. Once again, thank you so much, Eduardo Haddad. Thank you so much, Rosana Santos. And thank you, the viewers, the listeners. Next week, we'll resume with the regular program. It's not going to be the Spiritist Movement in Action. It's going to be the regular program for the Spiritism Talk series every Saturday at 11 a.m. I hope to see everybody there, and I wish you all a blessed day.